Welcome to the Empower Me Show with Pam Bright. This show is all about honoring you as a spiritual being, having a human experience. You are here for a reason, and it's no mistake that you are here on earth right now. Spirit has guided you to this very moment in time, so you could hear the messages Pam is about to share with you. She is a multidimensional healer, light language channel, transformation coach, wife and mother, committed to helping you discover the tools and practices to empower you to live the best life you can. You get to choose the spirit path you take. You can connect to the spiritual guidance already all around you. Get ready to live a fully empowered life. This is the Empower Me Show.
Welcome to the Empower Me Show with Pam Bright. My name's Pam Bright. This is my husband, David Buck. He is my co-host today. We are so glad you're here. This is our Spirit Partners for Life episode, and we are going to be talking about divine timing today. This is a two-parter, so we'll do this part today, and then next month we'll be doing part 2, talking about eternal timing as well as divine timing together. So I always start my programs with a signature question for you, which is what, David?
What does it mean to be a spiritual being having a human experience? And there's so many answers to this question. And it's a question that I initially would have been challenged by the notion of. Growing up, I didn't think of myself as a spiritual being. And we're not going to address that one directly today, but it's an ongoing thing we ask in almost every episode from a different angle. So the other main question, or it's a statement that really kind of challenged me in my life related to timing and overwhelm, which I've had a lot of in my life, is the notion that God never gives you more than you can handle. You know, at one time, that is, my feeling about that statement for possibly the first half of my life, the first 25 years was, oh yeah, really? How could that be true with, just an experience of overwhelm? And the question that we're going to be addressing today is this notion of divine timing, that everything happens for a reason at the time that it does. And we have a quick sort of activation and blessing for all those people in Washington State, and indeed all across the United States today, because this is our historic heat day in Washington State. We expect to set the record for the highest temperature ever recorded here today. So Pam, you want to give us a blessing to keep everybody safe today?
Absolutely. So I'm just going to give you a little heads up here. For those of you who have not been in this extreme heat before, I'm sure you've been doing a lot of investigating, but we do things like, these nice cool towels. And yes, I have my Vanna right here. Thank you very much. So putting that on your neck, which I'm doing now, is helpful. So go ahead and find something cool if you live in Washington State, and or if you're anywhere that's really warm, and go ahead and take care of yourself. Make sure to drink lots of water, all that stuff. So we're going to just set this intention here that we have an informative, relaxing, empowering, and even maybe fun experience today.
Maybe.
So that we can enjoy our lives, because it's always about what we create in this moment. So I'm going to do a little light language with you, just to set the stage. This is something I do every time, and it really brings you into where you live in your heart. So we ask Creator of all that is, the one who lives and breathes within all things, to be here now in this moment with every person listening to this recording and watching it on whatever platform you're in. And we ask that the agents of cooling, the specialists that work with each of us come in from the etheric down into where we live in our homes, in with our bodies, and we ask that the cooling agents really assist our bodies in bringing the temperatures down internally so that we can function in our brains, in our hearts, in our muscle tissue, in every part of our body system so that we can function and do the work, the important empowerment work that we're here to do today. Ale terabakia ute sadabaki itapakina. Esa tatekena satakishanda sena nayatana eyasa. And we see this beautiful fountain of water, nice and cool, coming down over us and bringing into that fountain into the body and really spreading it throughout our entire environment. And we also ask that this same cooling agent assist with the fires everywhere in Washington and other states that they're really experiencing that. And we bring us to a place of calm and receptivity. Aya tukara kisana maye. It is done. All right.
So we're talking about divine time and divine timing today, and really we're going to split it up because this is a subject I wanted to do ever since we started this show, and we thought we'd just do a single episode on it, and it ballooned so much we're going to make it a two-parter. So today is really about time and the challenges that we face with time, and I've certainly faced a lot of them in my life. When I was very young, I did the first transformation work because my parents had gone through the S training, which is now landmark education. And after the training, they offered a seminar series. And the very first seminar series that I was at was called Be Here Now. So I've been receiving messages to do just that for most of my life. And still, I've struggled and been challenged by even that most basic concept. And yet I can say that some of the very best moments in my life have been just very short, very single moments where, everything comes together, or there's just a perfect moment. They're fleeting, they don't last long, and yet they can be created. And you can get into a flow of time and timing where there are many more of these kind of moments.
So there are actually some tricks that you can use to shift your way of being around time that I have been taught throughout my lifetime. And also with the spiritual connection that I have that is very strong, I often will remind people that I work with and my husband and my daughter and everyone else around me that there's always support available in every moment, even right now, as we are going through what we're going through with heat and with the still ongoing pandemic and all other kinds of issues like, money and sustenance and survival. There's always, always, always support. So in every second of my life, I remember that. And if I'm in doubt or I'm needing a little extra boost, that's when I say, Creator, you have all of my guidance teams available to me all the time. So please send me what I need now. So in this moment, you can ask exactly for what you need, whatever it is. What is it that you need right now? So we need more time. So how do we do that? Well, we imagine a big clock in front of us if we want to, and we expand that a little bit or we shrink it. Let's say we want more time. Well, we make it an hour earlier, 2 hours earlier, 3 hours earlier in our minds, and we expand that time that way. What's another tool for expanding time, David, that you know of?
Well, it's really, we're going to talk more about this a little bit later, but, the big one is focusing on what's most important to you. I think that's the message that we are trying to send today. And going back slightly, to the notion that God never gives you more than you can handle, and the challenge of accepting that. It fits within time and divine timing because if that's true, then what is in front of you to handle at that time is for you. There's a lesson in it. The notion that everything happens for a reason when it does, at the time it does in your life, in your development around you, so that you can stop behaviors or relationships that are unhealthy, so that you can refocus your purpose in life, find your purpose in life, discover what it is you're here to do and work more on that, because however long you're here is however long you're here. You don't know whether it's going to be a day or 100 years, and we hope that it will be longer, and we know that our time ultimately is short.
Yes. And yes, that's really important because what I hear is bringing gratitude into every moment. And
Yeah.
um, I have discovered over especially the last few years, definitely the last year, um, particularly, that there has been a lot of grief happening and a lot of people in trauma and really wondering, are we going to survive? Are
Mm,
we going to survive? Are we going, as a species, going to survive everything that's happening?
mm,
And
mhm,
it's always about our divine choice. Think about you as a soul making choices.
mhm.
You as a soul made the divine choice to come in here now in this time frame with all of the craziness happening in the world.
Yeah. And I want to let you know that for so many different reasons, from the way you were brought up to the advertising that is put in front of you, to peer pressure, to society at large, you've been largely programmed to think about time and timing in certain ways. And you will continue to believe whatever you believe about those things until you change your mind. And that's certainly one of the messages here at the Empower Me show that we try and reinforce all the time is that it's up to you. And we're going to take a little break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about that the problem isn't time, it's really you. And this ultimately doesn't sound nice at first, but it's really good news. So we're going to take a break for a couple minutes and we'll be back to talk about you. Welcome back to the Empower Me show with Pam Bright. I'm David Buck, and today on Spirit Partners for Life, we're talking about time and the challenges of time. And this is a two-part episode. So next month, we'll be talking about divine timing a little bit more and how you can use this notion of divine timing, because it's not just a concept it's like a force that exists that happens to you. You can actually kind of coexist with it. And so I want to echo again what I said before, that the problem really isn't time. The problem really is you and how you've been programmed and what you can do about it. And the good news is that you can do a lot about it. And it all has to do with how you think about time and timing. And in my life, I've always been up against it. This morning, it's a daily struggle for me, and so everyone in my life recognizes this. And the irony is, I know the great secret about time, which is really, it's the most valuable resource that you have. So it's a struggle deciding what to do with my time. And I know what's most important to me, my family, the show, moving forward on the things I'm here to do. And I can say over my lifetime, I've spent more and more of my time purposely doing the things that matter the most to me. So I would say that if divine timing were a person, that person would look at timekeeping and say, I'm sorry, I think you missed it. I think you missed the entire point of the experience of time. And what would that be? What would that if divine timing then were to ask a question of timekeeping, what would that question be?
Oh, the question is not what will you do with your time, but really the question is, what do you want your life to be about?
Mhm.
That is what's the most important. We never know how much time we really have in our lifetime. Okay. In any given week, you discovered there's what, 168 hours in a week.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time. I always say, I've been saying recently, especially, there's 24 hours in a day. Somebody somewhere at some time decided that that was the amount of time we have in a day. Whoever the timekeepers were way back when, before there were clocks, before there were sundials, before there was anything, but there was 24 hours. Okay. Then someone said, okay, we are going to have 24 hours in a day. So what are you going to do with it? Right?
Mhm.
What are you going to do with the time that you have? Let's say you have a diagnosis that is something that is scary. What are you going to do with that time? Are you going to obsess about that time? Are you going to obsess about that issue, that trauma, that disease, that
Mm,
illness,
mm.
that grief, that loss? Or are you going to look at all of the benefits and all of the gratitude that you have
Mhm.
for that particular issue and that circumstance?
And you don't even have to wait for a diagnosis from a doctor that something is going to happen to you in a certain amount of time. It's an interesting notion when we tackle the notion of drama, that because in a diagnosis situation, you might be faced with, oh, I only have so much time now. This is a huge deal for me. What am I going to do with the time I have left? But drama in all its forms gets in the way of that. So one of the other messages we keep trying to reinforce here is turn off the drama, turn off the noise of the world so you can focus on you and see what's really most important to you.
That is really important. I have purposely, I've never really been a person that has read the newspaper or watched the news on TV. I find that when I read it or I look at it on the TV, that I get, it's actually disturbing to me visually,
Mm,
and
mhm,
sometimes even movies can be challenging, because of the amount of violence, because of
mm,
the amount of discord, because of
mm,
the amount of just ongoing stuff. The movies these days seem to be really fast in the
yeah.
way that they switch scenes and the way they are doing the angling of their cameras. And just I'm noticing that everything's speeding up really, really fast.
Mhm,
Everybody wants something now in this second. And so we
mhm,
really, our barometer inside of us is in charge of our experience. So you have a natural rhythm, a natural timing inside of you that does not have to be affected by all of the circumstances and all of the stuff around you. And that's why we talk about a lot, especially in the spiritual community, about turning off the external stimuli. In our household, we have a time limit
mm,
for our electronics
mhm.
because of that. I personally, I can get absorbed in my electronic games to the point where I don't do anything else. And then I realize after after a few hours that my mind is a little foggy and my eyesight is a little weird, and I feel kind of groggy and I feel a little out of sorts. And then I realize, oh, I've been on my electronics for 4 hours. I think I better stop.
Yeah.
So then I purposely stop and do something else that doesn't include that.
So I'm going to do something. One of my very favorite things to do is to go back in time and just talk again about the notion of the problem isn't time. The problem is you. And it's an interesting little switch you can make that if you consider it for a moment, you can always change the past in the sense of you can always change your viewpoint about what happened in the past and what it meant to you. Because so many people carry the weight around with them, the weight of the drama, past traumas, decisions, regrets, remorse, all of those things you carry with you. And so you're constantly going back to those moments, or when you're reminded about something, again, it comes up and you almost feel like attacked a little. It's a little like PTSD, not clinical, of course. That is a very different scenario, but it is useful as a reference sometimes, because I think we give our own PTSD to ourselves in this kind of way.
I think we do too. And one of the things that I continually remind myself of, and also those close to me that I live with, the notion of is that every single moment we can change our experience. Every
Mhm.
moment we can change our minds about our life experience. And the way to do that is we start our day over.
Mm,
So if
mm,
you have had a rough day so far, and the day in Washington State has just begun,
mhm.
okay, this is still relatively early in the day. If it's been hard so far, if you've been uncomfortable, if you've been up against it, you can just change your mind about your experience. Okay, make a new decision, make a new choice, do something different than you've done before.
We're going to take a break again here, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about if time and you and the way you look at things are the problem. What is the solution? And it really is about paradigm shifts. So we're going to be talking about that when we come back from the break. Welcome back to the Empower Me Show with Pam Bright. I'm David Buck. I'm her husband and co-host here. We're talking about time and timing, divine timing. And what I want to say is that the solution is really has to do with paradigm shifts. It's all up to you, how you view it. Like I said earlier, you've been programmed to think a certain way in many different ways from many different sources about time and timing. There's 24 hours in a day. There's 7 days in a week. You've got to work from 9 to 5. You only have so much time. It goes so fast. They grow up so fast. All of these things. And I would say to you, don't believe the hype. Don't believe what other people tell you. You should believe about time and timing. You can find your own rhythms. And you don't even have to believe us. You could try it out. Little experiments and see, oh, now, okay, I'm going to try a little experiment here and believe something, and maybe not even tell the other person that you're playing that sort of game for yourself, and see what kind of experience that creates for you.
I just had a realization with that. So so I've done this myself, and I encourage you to do it too. If you think that time is going really fast, do what they do in meditation
Mm,
when you are sitting in one position to meditate, and time it for 5 minutes, and
mm,
you will be actually surprised at how slowly 5 minutes goes
yeah,
when you are in meditation. Maybe it's not meditation that you
yes,
have a challenge with.
yeah,
Maybe it is sitting and breathing. Maybe it is waiting for the
mm,
next indicated action step to take. Maybe it's waiting for a friend that you haven't seen forever to get here,
mm.
or waiting for the next season to happen. And you're like, come on,
Oh
come
yeah,
on. come
Yeah.
on, it's time. And your internal clock is so ready to have
Yeah.
something new that it can barely function because you're so up against it with time.
And that makes me think of something that's not even on our program, which is the notion of waiting. So many of us are waiting for something, as you talk about. We're waiting for the next thing. We're waiting for this to happen. We're waiting for the premiere date. Whatever it is you're waiting for, you might be missing out on the present moment. You never have to wait for what's so right now.
Mhm. So yeah, so there's a book. Um, it's called Be Here Now, and I don't remember the author, but
Mm,
it is a notion of being in the now,
mm,
just this second, right now.
mhm,
Because what happens, I hear this a lot, especially from parents of children that the parents have been working like oftentimes in corporate America, where they're all of their time is consumed. It
mhm,
seems like all of their time is consumed in work, in the office, at their job, and the child is with another caregiver, and then they get to see their child for a very limited amount of time throughout the day. And then they come to a place where all of a sudden they're looking at their child going, wow, we don't even know this person.
mm,
We've
mm,
missed out.
mm.
We've missed out on their upbringing. And they have an opportunity at that moment of choice. Are we going to continue
Mhm.
in this cycle of missing out?
Yeah, and so one of the things that you can do, a technique you can try to work with time and change your paradigms about it is set boundaries. Set boundaries from what you're being pressured by others to do. Set boundaries if your job is asking you, you need to come in for another shift, and it's an option. It may be to your best interest to just say no. Saying no is a really powerful thing. We may actually do a whole show around the
Mm.
power of saying no, but setting boundaries and protecting your time, because your time is really precious.
Well, yes, saying no, but no, also saying yes. It's really
Hmm.
what is the truth in this moment,
Yeah.
right? And boy, that takes time. That takes really concentrated effort to know your internal clock, to
Mm,
know your internal self, right? We get so much in a place of the world out there and society and
hmm.
beliefs and
Hmm.
what the media is telling us and what the newspapers are saying and what the internet is saying and what Facebook is saying
Oh,
and what this person over
oh
here is
boy.
saying and TikTok and Instagram and this and YouTube and all this stuff,
Yeah.
right? Stop all of that. I challenge you for
Hmm.
one day. That's a really good thing. I'm just saying, for one day, we should take it on.
Well, yeah,
For
but
one day, we should take it on. I'll give you this and this challenge too. For one day, take it on that we don't get on the internet at all day, just all day, just one day where we don't do anything but be here in this moment. Okay.
yeah.
I have never done that. Before the internet, I didn't I didn't do any kind of gaming at all, but I tell you, now that I have a cell phone and now that I have a Kindle Fire, woohoo! Games are all there is for me sometimes, and I have to purposely stop and read a book or play a game or take a shower or take a bath or do something, do a
Hmm.
hobby, something that isn't my norm.
Yeah.
We're talking a lot about changing habits and patterns. So, this is your opportunity to change a habit or a pattern that isn't necessarily healthy for you.
Now, there's a really good example about timing that you can almost instantly kind of connect to and experience the flow of. And what is that?
Oh, nature. Nature, nature. So it goes back to actually my first connection with the Native Americans and sacred
Mm,
ceremony. I My first medicine wheel gathering experience was, I don't know, 1990, early 90s, late 80s. Went to a big medicine wheel gathering with a lot of people, and it was outside, and we had um, Native American medicine wheel ceremonies like for 2 days or three
mm,
days where
mm.
we learned things and we connected to people and we had food, and it was all divine timing, because the thing about the Native Americans is they call it Indian time for a reason. They call it that in their own language. They say this, that the creator has a perfect sense of timing,
Mm,
that we
mhm,
don't need a clock or
mm,
a watch to know when it's perfect time to do something.
mhm,
And so they would wait until everyone had gathered and everyone was ready to be here now in this moment.
mhm.
And they had a ritual, they had song, they had prayer, they had releasing the excess noise, they had all of that to get us present, gathering all of our senses together into this body system
Yeah.
so that they could be here now for this sacred ceremony.
And if you want a real visceral experience about divine timing, go to a drum circle and listen to the rhythm, and then take your drum and get into the rhythm. When you've got 20 or 30 or 50 people all beating at the same time, it's transcendent. It's an amazing experience.
It is. And what we hear from the Native Americans is that the drum is the heartbeat of the Mother Earth. And the Mother Earth beats her drum internally as we beat our drum internally.
Hmm.
And when we connect to nature, we are actually shifting our internal timing to be one of flow, one of ease, one of natural rhythm.
Yeah.
Because the trees, think about it, the trees don't have a clock. They don't have something that they look at and say, oh, I think it's time for me to grow a little bit now, get my roots a little deeper. No, they connect to the is of themselves, right?
Yeah.
They call it the big is, or the creator of all that is.
Right. So here's an exercise you can try, and I recommend setting aside an hour sometime. Find a river and go sit by the river for a moment. Don't allow yourself to use your phone or any other social media or device or anything like that. And just look around, experience the flow of time in that place, the movement of the river itself, and the birds and the trees and the wind and the insects, and notice what happens, and the passage of the sun. There's wonderful rhythms in nature all around you. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to expand our time a little bit, talk about divine timing and what's coming up next month. So thanks for watching, and we will be right back. Welcome back to the Empower Me show with Pam Bright. I'm David Buck. I'm her husband and co-host here on Spirit Partners for Life. We're talking about time and timing, and the notion of divine timing, which really is that everything happens for a reason when it does. And in the time of your life, in the area and the time of development that things present themselves, it's a lesson for you to consider. There's a gift in every moment. And one of the things you can do is to find your own rhythms with time. Consider shutting off or setting boundaries with other demands outside of yourself, from your job, from your family, from your friends, from society, from what you've been programmed to think that you should do, because it ain't necessarily so. Now, the nice thing is you can find your own rhythms and fit into society as well. Even if you have a 9 to 5 job, don't work until 7. Work until 5 if you can. Obviously, you want to do things that work for your employer, but setting boundaries really helps you carve out your own time and protect that as well.
Yes, and one of the things that I just got reminded of is that um, what's been happening, especially through last year, some people it was a little bit earlier in 1999, or sorry, 1999. 19, well, for us in 1999, but yeah, 2019 was really when the pandemic started for the world. 2020, we really got into a place of everything seeming to shut down and challenging ourselves to take a look at our society and the world in the timing of history. Why, as soul, did we choose to come into this world and be in this time frame of experience COVID-19? Why did we do that? Why did we choose to be here in this moment of, gosh, things are a little iffy around when are things going to open up again? How are we going to know how to function in this new normal? What is it that we can do for ourselves right this moment? Because everything is a choice. One of the things that I want to share with you is that for certain people with certain issues, they don't know how long they're going to have or what's going to happen to them as they go through whatever experience they're going through. I get to go and see my aging parents at the end of this month. And my dad is dealing with Alzheimer's. We don't know how long he's going to have before he doesn't know who we are. So for him, time is only in the now. He doesn't have a thought process, as far as I know, of what happened last week or last year, or even, I don't know how far back it goes. But those people in that world of Alzheimer's and dementia, they really are, we can be grateful for watching their development, because they're really a mirror for us of how to be here now in this moment. When I ask my dad, how are you? Oh, I'm good. And that's his reality. When I ask him, what did you have for lunch? He doesn't necessarily remember. That's okay. He knows that he's okay right now. He knows that he is sitting in his chair. He knows that he's had a good meal. He knows that he's been taken care of. He knows he's able to sleep, right? So what are you grateful for right now in this moment?
So we have just a few minutes left here, and want to reiterate a couple of key points here. That the invitation is choose carefully what you do with your time, because now is all that you really have, and you have to focus on what's most important to you. You have the power to change the notions that you have about time and timing. And next month, when we talk about divine timing, again, we're going to be talking about something called eternal timing, which is the timing of your soul, your past, present, and future lives. And the notion that time is like this opportunity, this curve, or this ascending sort of line where you're presented with options to learn, so that you may not necessarily need to recreate that particular lesson or kind of baggage in the next life. And you might think, well, how is that useful for me right now in this life? Well, if this life that you're in right now is a microcosm of your eternal soul, your eternal timing, you can look at the patterns that repeat themselves and decide whether you are ready to be done with that particular pattern. And then once you're willing, find the tools you need and support you need to make a different choice.
Yes, that is actually the karmic cycle that David's talking about. And one of the things that I do for folks is that I have some techniques and some tools that assist in really diving deep into that world of karma and patterns and really shifting up your all what that we call the already always listening, which is the robotic human experience with being human that really can get into in the way of who we are as choice makers in the world.
Before we end, we'd like to give you just something really quick that you can do, a quick exercise that you can do to be fully present in the moment that you're at. So can you lead us in that real quick? Just like a momentary meditation.
Got it. All right. So I always come back to the breath. So I invite you in the moment that you're here right now to just close your eyes, allow yourself to go within. If you're doing something that requires you to have your eyes open, just simply focus on your breath and feeling the breath coming in and out through your lungs, up through your mouth and out, in through your nose and out through your mouth, and allowing your breath to really just focus you inward in this moment. And know that your breath is your key to being here now and having this amazing human experience of being a spiritual being. Spiritual being having a human experience. They're intertwined. There is no separation between you and the creator of all that is. Whatever you believe in is what you get to experience.
We hope that you can find an experience of the true now, because what's interesting is that the timing of a single moment can seem to encompass 100 years. And we're going to be talking more about that next month when we talk about divine timing. You can find us at fullbodysystemwellness.com, brightbutterflyenterprises.com. You email theempowermeshow@gmail.com with any questions, comments, or if you are interested in being a guest on the show, we love to engage more and more. We're really building kind of a community here where we engage with people, and we have different programs that we offer as well.
Absolutely. And the other thing about the special guests, is that if you are an entrepreneur or someone that has a business or a great book that you're writing, we'd love to feature you, because this is the place that you get a lot of exposure, and we want to celebrate you for your accomplishments. Being a human is a great accomplishment in and of itself, but definitely want to pump up the volume with your business so that you can have great exposure, great success, have your book sell well, and really let people know who you are.
Now, just one more thing before we go. You want to talk about next week? Next week's the Language of Light show again, but you've got a special guest.
I do. I have a special guest. His name is Brian Rawls, and he is very dear to me. He's one of my mentors, one of my first mentors with light language. And we're going to talk about his journey and what he's been going through, and how he uses light language to empower others in their lives, and how he shifts really the way we're being with our internal selves to experience all of who we are, and how we can connect to the divinity of the light of God.
It should be very exciting, actually. Thank you very much for tuning into the Empower Me Show with Pam Bright. I'm David Buck. I'm happy to be a co-host here and a spirit partner for life with you. So we're here every Monday at 3 p.m. and have a wonderful day. Stay safe and cool today, especially if you're in Western Washington on this historic high heat day. And the good news in the weather forecast, normally we don't do the weather, but it will cool off tonight and be cooler tomorrow. So that's something to look forward to if you didn't know. So thank you very much.
We absolutely love you all, and many, many, many blessings from the creator of all that is and the Empower Me Show. Have a blessed day.
Thank you for listening to the Empower Me Show with Pam Bright on Transformation Talk Radio. Tune in every Monday at 3 p.m. to learn more about living a fully empowered life. Remember that your life is up to you, and you can choose the spiritual path you are on. There is spiritual energy and wisdom in everything and everyone around you. Listen carefully for what the universe is trying to tell you in every moment. You are already being guided along your journey. Call upon your spirit guides anytime you need help with anything. Know that you are safe in every moment, even if it seems that you are not. For more information about Pam Bright, visit brightbutterflyenterprises.com or email theempowermeshow@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening. We hope to see you next week.